definitely did not kill himself. That's 110%.
Okay.
So
then what happened?
now, what happened is our Attorney General, Barr, completely lied to every citizen in this country when he said that he was going to look into the investigation. And I believe he was in Texas when he said, somebody asked him, one of the media outlets asked him, Barr, did you look into this? And he said, yes, I did. And there was nothing there to look into, so I dropped it. And the follow-up question was, what do you mean there was nothing there for you to look into? And he says, well, I watched the video and no one entered the tier. Stop right there. So what Attorney General Barr said is, all you people are too fucking stupid, so I can really abuse you all. I don't want to sound like my cousin Vinny, abuse yous. I don't want, and I'm going to insult everybody's intelligence. But he forgets that a lot of those dummies that were in jail know the system. And here's the system for the people who don't know. If a count is not cleared because he said 2 guards fell asleep and did not do the count, so they did not find Epstein dead until the next morning. That's so fucking insulting and laughable, because if that occurs, then they hit the deuces in the jail. They try to contact the guards upstairs, and it can't be 1, it's got to be 2. Have to walk and do counts. So I'll walk you through that. When they do a count, they go into each cell, and if somebody's not moving, they kick the door or bang the door. If it's a dorm-like cell, they hit your rack, your bunk, with their stick or their light, and they make you move your foot or your hand, because in the past there was dead bodies, and they had to make sure while you're sleeping you're really alive, not dead. Okay. In these lockdown cells, there's cameras in a lot of the cells, and there's cameras on the tier. So when Barr said that nobody went on the tier, it's impossible, because you need 2 guards. If they fall asleep, they can't, because control downstairs calls up and they cannot clear the count in the building. And if that's what occurs, they don't clear the count. They hit the deuces because they think there's a hostage situation upstairs in that tier if nobody answers. Or they think the guards were killed. So they cannot, nobody moves, they lock down the whole facility. Whether there's any movement at all in that facility by anybody, it's completely stopped. They bring their, what they call, different, depends on the jail itself, what they call their units, special units. And they'll call outside SWAT to come to the building with armed enforcement, because they're worried about hostages, prison breaks, and murder of the guards.
Okay, so in your best opinion, what do you think took place?
So,
I love how excited you get about this.
Yeah, I'm excited because he got caught blatantly lying, Bob. So, if this occurs and they claim to be sleeping, right, they would come up initially and see that they're sleeping, wake them up and do the count, right? That didn't happen. And the 911 tapes have disappeared because they only have to keep them for a year.
Wait, wasn't there also something that, like, the 2 guards that were supposed to be doing something were asleep?
Yeah, it's impossible.
By coincidence, both are, like, asleep or something like that?
Yeah, it's impossible because they wake them up and tell them to go do the count. But here's how they killed them. So, okay. For you, most likely.
Wait, can I tell you my prediction and you tell me if you think this is right?
Yeah.
I feel like they said between this time and this time we're not going to come bother you, basically. You know the details more than I do. we're not going to come bother you. Here's how you're going to do it. Go do it. And then he did it. Or no, and then so they facilitated the act. Like I think that he didn't, like, when people say like he didn't kill himself, I think maybe he was the one. I think that there was a system put in place to help facilitate and look like he killed himself, but it wasn't. That's not really killing yourself.
You have when an inmate tries to kill himself. Let me back up, which he did supposedly prior. He's then put in what they call a toilet paper wrap, right? They take all his clothes, they take anything he can kill himself with, any kind of cover, so he can't take the strings out of it and hang himself. Everything's happening. He's in a cambered cell where he even showers in there. They turn the shower on at whatever time. There's a mic inside the room. They tell him, get up and shower, and they turn it on. Whatever time they feel like turning it on, whether it's 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It's a nice shower. He gets up. If he doesn't get up, they turn it off after 5-10 minutes. Yeah. Now, control room has the cameras. There's several places in that building besides control room, if there's any kind of shortage, anything goes wrong, that they also have access to the camera work through the facility. There's not just one control room only. On the floor itself, it has their own cameras also. But what happened, in my opinion, is we get fed through a mail slot 3 times a day. Now you have inmates, influxes of inmates that are moving in and out from solitary confinement and throughout the jail daily. So, in my opinion, they brought in 2 operatives into solitary confinement.
And beat the shit out of him?
No. Put them in those cells. Whether those guards, most likely were 2 guards that they took off that shift, and they probably had operatives there also. Right? Now they're set up. Because the whole jail isn't in on this murder. So maybe, if anything, the warden knew what was going on. Because he's got to have access to get these other guards into that facility. They feed them through a mail slot. They drug him when they feed him.
Oh.
So his last meal is, depending on when they feed us, but 4:30, say, is our dinner meal. They drug him. He's out cold. The inmates are all there. He's sleeping. They have keys to their cells. They let themselves out. They kill him and make it look like a hanging suicide.
Wait, you said that the other inmates killed him?
No, other inmates are in the cell. So later on at night, when everybody's asleep, they let themselves out. They kill Epstein. They let themselves back in their cell. And the process...
Wait, who's they?
Whatever operatives they placed in other solitary.
So, okay, but who... Okay. But, oh, I see.
Now...
I see. So it's basically like hitmen, operatives. So they put them as like, so you think that they kind of like hide these guys in other cells as if they're inmates, correct?
Exactly.
And then, but they give them the key.
Because there's daily movement every day from inmates in and out of solitary, in and out the whole jail.
Right. So then they say, okay, so they basically reserve, let's say, like a room or 2 to put these operatives in that are just going to be like just hanging in there for the day. And then they know that between 3 and 6 a.m. Epstein's going to be out cold, and they let themselves out, and they also have the key to the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go in, and then how do you think they killed him?
They kill him, make it look like it's a suicide, which the first autopsy, he says, no, it's not consistent with suicide. It's consistent with strangulation. He was killed.
So
Later on, they overrule that.